Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday service. My name is Neil Rischel. I will be your MC this Sunday. Can we all rise and make our way in, and we'll start with our first song. Let's give a big hand to the band and welcome them up.
Good morning, everyone. Everybody, please rise. We're going to start off by singing By the Spring of Life.
They're marching to the blessed land of Canaan with delight. We're leaving all our heavy burdens here. At last we are released and free from being slaves to sin. We're coming to the blessed spring of life. Coming to the spring where living water flows. In glory we'll be living evermore. Going to the land where freely flows the spring. In glory we'll be living evermore. Oh, guide us with your pillars, Lord of fire and of cloud. Oh, give us paths to follow with our lives. The moment that we cross the Jordan River is at hand. We're coming to the blessed spring of life. Coming to the spring where living water flows. In glory we'll be living evermore. Going to the land where freely flows the spring. In glory we'll be living evermore. Our thirsting hearts receive with joy the manna from above. Your precious food will always be our strength. So if the future finds us lacking, we will not despair. We're coming to the blessed spring of life. Coming to the spring where living water flows. In glory we'll be living evermore. Going to the land where freely flows the spring. In glory we'll be living evermore. In glory we'll be living evermore. In glory we'll be living evermore.
Thank you. The second song we'll be singing is Song of the Spring Breeze. It's a beautiful song to invite God into our hearts and into our week.
Snow and cold wind of the bitter dark night, lift off the weight of your cold ruthless hand. Spring breeze will chase you and bring flowery fragrances, breathing new life to the suffocated hills. Though you most ruthless of winter winds blow, doomed in a moment you too shall be calmed. Spring breeze will chase you and bring flowery fragrances, breathing new life to the suffocated hills. Butterfly, awake, and you meadowlark of spring. Our land has suffered this nightmare too long. Spring breeze will chase you and bring flowery fragrances, breathing new life to the suffocated hills.
From the beginning, one more time.
Snow and cold wind of the bitter dark night, lift off the weight of your cold ruthless hand. Spring breeze will chase you and bring flowery fragrances, breathing new life to the suffocated hills. Know you most ruthless of winter winds blow, doomed in a moment you too shall be called. Spring breeze will chase you and bring flowery fragrances, breathing new life to the suffocated hills. Butterfly awake and you meadowlark of spring, our land has suffered this nightmare too long. Spring breeze will chase you and bring flowery fragrances, breathing new life to the suffocated hills. Breathing new life to the suffocated hills.
Thank you very much. Everyone take a seat and please join me in prayer. Dear most beloved Heavenly Parents, true parents, thank you for this wonderful day that we could be here together as a family, worshiping in your name. I pray, however our week was, that we can come here and feel at peace and at rest with our friends and family, being able to celebrate you today. We don't take enough time to spend with you throughout the week, but this is the few hours on Sunday where we can praise you and thank you for everything that you've given to us in our lives and all the amazing things that we have. I pray whatever has been going on, whether it's been good or challenging, that we can remember why we're here, why we come to church, and why we have each other to support each other. I want to offer this day and this time in your name. Amen. All right, good morning, everybody. All right, so we'll take a few minutes now. We can all rise, we can give handshakes, hugs, and just greet your neighbor, walk around, and just say hello. All right. So now, if there's anyone that hasn't been here or has been here for the first time, if anyone would like to introduce them, or anyone has guests, like to say hello. Is there any new guests today? How's it going? Got a mic right there for you.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Mpilo. My second name is Shinmyang. That's my Korean name. I'm from South Africa, and I came here like on the 16th of January. I'm here for 4 weeks, so I'm left with 2 weeks before I head back home. I live with Anton in Craig. Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Any other new guests? All right. Just so you know, there's a little gift on your way out, so be sure to pick that up. And so now we'll be having the Pastor Donia come up. She'll be giving her service, so please attend her and welcome her up. Give her a round of applause.
Good morning. Wow, there's a lot of people here today. Awesome to see all of you, and thank you so much for coming. If you don't know me well, my name is Pastor Adonia Hendrick, and my husband and I are pastors here at the Colorado Family Church, so we welcome you. I hope you've had a wonderful start to your year. This is the last weekend in January. So I feel like January is the start, and once February comes, the year is going. So if you haven't felt like you've started your year yet, this is your chance. If you haven't outlined any goals yet, there's still a few days left. And really think about, based on who God created you to be and what God hopes for you, then what can you do this year? So this week, we are kicking off the third part of our sermon series on what we call the three great blessings, which is actually the first words that God gave to humanity after creating them. So, and we've already talked about the first and second. This is a third blessing, but where this comes from is from Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So I think if you're not paying close attention, it would be very easy just to skim over this part of the Bible. But what we've come to understand is that this little paragraph, this sentence, actually encompasses everything that God wants for us. This is before humanity fell away from God, before there was separation, before there was destruction. In the beginning, this was it. So in our first sermon series, we went over the first blessing, which was to be fruitful. And also, if you're not familiar with this word, you'd be like, well, I don't have cherries growing off of my fingers, or what does that mean to me? But if you think about a tree, right, as it's growing, the time when it becomes fruitful is the time when the tree is fully mature. It's the time when the tree can bear fruit. So when God is asking us to become fruitful, he's asking us to grow in our individual maturity until we are at the place where we can bear fruit in our lives. So we talked a lot about our growth. We talked a lot about developing a relationship with God, because our growth should be based on our relationship with God. And things that come along with that. Sometimes it's dealing with your own issues. Sometimes it's developing discipline. Sometimes it's actually growing your heart to be open to God's love. All those different things are kind of encompassed in being fruitful. Then until the end of last year, we were talking about the second part, which is to multiply. And so with multiply is the part where it's not just you all by yourself and your own relationship with God anymore. It's about you in relationship to the people around you, right? Especially focusing on our families, because it's within the families that we learn our relationships that we carry out with us into the world, right? So we talked a lot about the relationships of parents towards their children, the relationships between husband and wife, the relationship that children should have towards their parents. And we'd also talked about some of the difficulties we face in those. Sometimes we don't feel like loving another person, even if it's our husband or wife. Sometimes we don't feel like taking the time to invest into our children when we have busy lives. And we also talked about grandparents and what kind of a role they play. So the family is the school of love, and that's really what we focused on, developing that kind of heart and relationships in our life. And now, today, we get to start the third part, which is this have dominion. And I have another quote here. This is from Reverend Moon. The meaning of God's third blessing is the perfection of a human being's dominion over the natural world. To fulfill this blessing, the foundation of dominion must be established centered on God. So, when this talks about this four-position foundation, if you are relatively new here, this might be a new term. The four-position foundation is talking about our relationships as well, but it's talking about our relationship centered on God. So if you just picture, I don't have a picture of it, but if you center God at the top, right? God is the center. From God, there are different entities. And in the case of our individual self, it's our mind and our body. Both our mind and body reflect special aspects of God. And then when we unite our mind and body, we are like a mirror image of God. When God looks at us, he sees himself. I'm sure you are familiar with Les Miserables, that beautiful story. And in the musical, there's a part where he sings, when you love another person, then you see the face of God, right? So God wants to see himself reflected in ourselves. In a family, again, God is the center. God is the origin. And then his characteristics are reflected in the man and the woman. And when they come together and create a beautiful family, God feels the most joy because he sees himself reflected in us. And when we're talking about dominion over the natural world, we also need to have this proper relationships of a four-position foundation. God is the origin, right? Humanity and creation. And there's a relationship, and we have a proper relationship with the natural world and with the things of creation. Then God sees his whole entire self reflected in that. So that is what God is asking of us in this phrase. But when I go back real quick to this, because I want to focus a little bit on have dominion, because I feel like people can really get caught up on this term. Because dominion is very similar to the word domination, isn't it? Actually, they're derived from each other. And I think what often comes to mind is examples of bad dominion. Actually, I have one from the Bible here. This is from, this is from Ezekiel 34:4. And in this verse, God is saying through the prophets it's basically a tirade against Israel's kings. And he's scolding them. He says, "You have not strengthened the weak. You have not healed the sick. You have not bound up the injured. You have not brought back the strayed. You have not sought the lost, but with force and harshness you have ruled them." And I think this is often what we think of when we hear the word dominion or rule. And even Reverend Moon himself said in relationship to creation, historically, so many people exploited all things, using them to do evil, which they did not want to do. And I don't think I have to even come up with any other examples, because you probably have about 1,000 others in your minds. But in this verse, God is saying, this is not dominion. This is not what I want you to do. You are in the position to have dominion, but this is not how you do it. So what is God's dominion? What kind of dominion should we have when we talk about dominion over the creation, dominion over the natural world? In this next verse I have, this is from Psalm 72, and it was originally a coronation psalm for King Solomon. So God was establishing his dominion. And he said, "May he have dominion from sea to sea." And then he goes on to say, what kind of dominion? Oops, wrong one. I think I missed something. Okay, I didn't put that one in the slides, but I will read it to you. So this is God talking to King Solomon about what a leader does. He delivers the needy when they call, the poor and those who have no helper. He has pity on the weak and the needy and saves the lives of the needy. From oppression and violence, he redeems their life, and precious is their blood in his sight. So God is telling King Solomon, these are your people, you are ruling over them, but you have a responsibility toward them. They're not here for you to use and abuse and take advantage of. Of course, you get a benefit from being their king. I mean, in a government, right, we pay taxes, they get their dues, but they have a responsibility towards the people they have dominion over. And in the same way, God created this world for us, right? He prepared the entire creation. And in the Bible, it talks about how, he spent a day separating the light from the darkness and the firmament from the waters and creating all the living things that walked. And then, after preparing everything for humanity, he created human beings to be welcomed into this world and to have true dominion. And so, of course, he meant for us to enjoy the fruits of the earth, right? We're supposed to enjoy the beautiful nature. We're supposed to enjoy the food that we get from it. We're supposed to enjoy the warm clothing we can make from the wool of the sheep and from the cotton that we grow, right? We get a benefit. But at the same time, God says we have a responsibility. So this is a different kind of dominion that I'm talking about today. This is another quote from Reverend Moon. All things will eventually return to God's ownership and be owned by those whom God loves. All things want to go the way that fulfills their eternal purpose. So actually, this made me think of, I don't know if you know much about Thai history. I certainly didn't, but a couple of years ago we had a nanny when Annalise was born. She lived with us for 6 months, and she was from Thailand. And she'd often talk about the king of Thailand. And it kind of went in one ear and out the other because I just didn't know anything about Thailand and I couldn't relate to it that much. But my sister just came back a few months ago from a trip to Thailand. And when she arrived, got off the plane in Thailand, all the people in Thailand were walking around in black, very dull, muted colors in black, and she didn't really think about it too much. Initially, she thought, well, I guess they just wear dark colors, but not in Thailand. But what it was this was exactly 1 year from the day that the king, who had been the king for 40 or 50 years, had passed away. And for an entire year from the time the king passed away, all of the people of the country wore dark colors. It was like a time of mourning. They didn't do large celebrations and things like that. And this may sound to you like, okay, but you know, that's what people, if somebody dies, of course everybody is mourning, you know. But the more that my sister talked to the people of Thailand, his name is Bhumibol Adulyadej. I practiced that. King Bhumibol Adulyadej. And so apparently he was born into the royal family, but he was the younger son. His older son was expected to take the throne, and he was just going to live his ordinary life. He went to an ordinary school. I think he did go overseas, but it was just like an ordinary school. He had hobbies like photography, and he played jazz music. And then expecting just to kind of live that normal life. But I believe his elder son passed away, and then all of a sudden, here he is stepping up to be the king of Thailand. And he really stepped into that role with a heart of, this isn't for me, this is for my country. And so if you talk to people in Thailand, they're always talking about how he created agriculture that all of the poor people in the country could participate in. Strawberry fields was a really big thing. He created lots and lots of strawberry fields. And he created lots of programs to support the most needy in the country. And he would often be seen out just in public with his camera, taking pictures, and the people just loved him for that. And he was their king for a long time, between 40 and 50 years. So when he passed away, it wasn't just a ritual that the country went through, but the people really felt that this was somebody who had done so much for them, and they wanted to show their respects. So this was one example of a ruler, of somebody who had dominion, that I felt was a good example. It's hard to come up with them, but it does give you something to think about. And if you want to look him up, it's actually quite interesting. But the point is that true dominion that God calls us to is a dominion of heart, a dominion of love, and in reality, everything that we have is not actually ours, right? Everything that we have comes from God. And so we are to have the kind of stewardship and the same heart and love that God has towards the things we have responsibility over. So now that we've touched on what this dominion means, the kind of dominion that God is calling us to, I want to talk a little bit about the second part of all things. So, as it says, have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. This week, we adopted a cat. Her name is Paloma, which apparently means dove in Spanish, and she's a beautiful grayish calico cat. And we weren't planning on getting a cat, but the boys have martial arts after school on Mondays, and they stay there a little bit longer. So I picked up Mia from school, and we had about an hour before I had to pick up the boys. And there's a pet shop pretty much right next to the school, so it's kind of become a habit of ours to go wander around the pet shop and look at the different animals and say, oh, this is pretty, and this is cute, I want this, I want that, but not really seriously like planning to take one home. But we went into the little adoption center, and they have the cages with the cats and maybe dogs for adoption. We walk over and we see 2 cats in the cages, so we go look at them, and they're just like looking at us like cats do. But then we hear this meow from the other side, and we didn't see this cat when we walked in because she would have been hiding. But then she came out and she's like, hey, I'm here. And so we go over, and as soon as we get close to the cage, she's purring and she's rubbing up against the cage and just soaking up the love. And I couldn't resist, so I asked Mike if it'd be okay, and we brought her home. But it's actually made me think about this, having dominion over the things that God has created, because right now I'm having a new experience with dominion that I wasn't having a week ago. And when I first saw her, my first feeling is like, I want this cat. I want to cuddle with it. I want to feel how soft it is. I want her to fall asleep on my lap and be warm and cozy. And I'm thinking about all the things that I want from this cat, which of course is what I believe God created cats for. But at the same time, it wasn't so easy when she first arrived, because I think we had a different type of cat food than what she was used to eating, right? So she didn't actually eat anything for almost a day, and I started to get worried. And then I put a little bit of milk in the cat food and thought it might make it appealing. And then she ate it all, and then she threw it all up. And then Yuka's like, you shouldn't give milk to a cat. They're not. It's not good for them. And I thought, oh, I thought milk was for cats. But apparently they get lactose intolerant. Anyway, it wasn't a good decision of mine to put milk in the cat food. And so then she threw that up. And then she hadn't eaten for 2 days. And so I was, then I had to go online and say, what can you do for a cat that hasn't eaten, And so I was boiling rice and cooking chicken and, all the things that I didn't want to have to do initially with a cat and spoil it. But it was about 3 days before she started to eat a little bit of chicken, and I kept worrying because then she wouldn't eat for another day, but then she'd eat a little bit of chicken, and so this whole week has been a wake-up call for me that, yes, I need to take care of my responsibility towards the things that I have dominion over. And to be honest, I should have done more research ahead of time. I should have asked the pet store, what kind of food is she eating now? So I could have gotten the same kind of food. If she wasn't eating, I should have looked up right away rather than just trying to I'll make her eat it with the milk, And it really made me think, we need to be more concerned and more careful with how we take care of this one precious world that we have. And I think about, for us, this world, we were just born into it. We're kind of used to seeing the same things we see all the time. We live in this neighborhood for 3 years, and we get used to seeing the trees and the houses and the cars. But if I stop for a minute and I think about how God created this entire world and the heart that God created this world with. And it was like irrepressible, burning desire to express love. He couldn't help himself. I think he must have gotten so excited thinking about all the different kinds of animals, all the different variety of flowers that we could see, and all the different types of landscapes that he could create to awe us and inspire us, and all the different types of weather so that we could feel his just infinite creativity and variety, you know? And so, but it's a little bit of a switch to think, from thinking the way that I typically daily think about creation, to seeing from God's viewpoint the way that he made creation. So, you know, are we seeing from God's eyes? Are we loving creation with that kind of love? I have a few quotes from Reverend Moon that I feel are really good about creation. This is, today's Christians say that since God is omniscient and omnipotent, everything came into being by God merely saying, "Let there be such a heaven and earth." But this is not the case. God invested everything, all the energy he had. By investing the full power of his love, he created all things as a gift for his beloved sons and daughters to come, his beloved future family. Everything was created like that. So we should look at all things keeping this in mind. Even the smallest creatures around us are surely connected to us and have a relationship with us. Even though we may ignore them, these insignificant creatures make a connection with humankind, revealing the value of their existence each day according to the ideal of the heavenly principle. And this quote, him saying, you know, even the smallest creatures, it brought back this memory. So if you don't know me very well, I grew up in very rural Missouri. We lived 4 miles down a gravel road. We lived an hour from the nearest Walmart or movie theater. And I didn't have a lot of friends close by, so I spent, if I wasn't at school and I wasn't reading, I was usually outside. I was out in the field, climbing over the hay bales or playing with the dogs, and I spent so much time in nature, and I really get that we have a relationship, we have a connection with even the smallest creatures. And this made me think of this experience I had in 6th grade. So I was in 6th grade. If you're in elementary school, 6th grade is kind of like the top of the top. It's kind of like being a senior in high school, right? You feel kind of cool. I was 12. But we had a recess. We were out on the playground, and for some reason, this poor crawdad ended up on our playground. It was a big one. It was probably about this big. And these boys in my class were throwing rocks at it just because it was there, or they didn't want to pick it up because it might pinch them or something, so they were just throwing rocks at it. And I could see it, you know, like waving its little pinchers and trying to like get away and stop the rocks from hitting it, and I just started crying. I couldn't handle the what is it called? The disregard. I couldn't handle the disregard for life, any kind of life, the smallest creature's life. And people were looking at me like, "You're not 5. Why are you crying?" But I couldn't help it. And it also makes me think of this story that when Reverend Moon was a young child, he loved nature. He grew up in very also rural North Korea. And he spent all of his time roaming the mountains, and he would swim in the streams and find where all the fish lived, and he was known as the best eel catcher because he knew where all the eels lived. And he shared a story of once he saw these beautiful colored birds, which he had never seen before, and they were migrating. And he knew that they're either looking for a place to nest or a place for clean water. And so he thought, where can I find the clean water? I want to learn about these birds. So he found a clear spring in the mountains, and he waited there. He'd go every day and wait. And then 2 weeks later, the birds showed up to drink at the spring. and then he could observe them and he could learn about them. And then also, when he was a young child, he caught a bunch of little fish, and he wanted to see them grow. He wanted to see what the fish life cycle was. He wanted to see them have babies, so he dug a hole in his yard, right, filled it up with water and put the fish in so that he could watch. And then the next day they had all died, and he realized, oh, this is not how, not what fish need. But then he cried and cried over these little fish because he felt the significance of even these smallest creatures. People will enjoy and take delight in anything that belongs to someone they love. Nevertheless, they do not know how to take delight in all things created by God, whom they love the most. Can such people become God's sons and daughters? You are responsible to liberate creation, which is sighing and lamenting from its sorrow. You should deeply experience the heart and care that God invested in the creation. And one more. You should know how to love nature and love people. You should know that those who cannot love people or love nature cannot love God, because all things of creation are symbols for God, and because people are substantial beings. Those who know how to love all things of creation and people will come to love God. So, practically, what does this mean for our daily life? I think for each of us, it could mean different things. How can I have good dominion? How can I be a good steward of the things of creation? And I know this could easily go into a more politically charged topic of climate change and stuff, but I don't want to go there. But I think, actually, that's not relevant. If we really saw this world as God's gift to humanity, and we really had the kind of heart and love that God has for us in this world, then it wouldn't matter if the world is warming or not. We would just take care of it. We do everything that we could to give back to the earth, as we're receiving from the earth. So you can think about what that means for you. I mean, even Reverend Moon has talked about that he would only use 3 pieces of toilet paper when he would go to the bathroom because he wanted to respect the trees that this was made from, and he didn't want to be wasteful. So I'll leave that part to you. But this was just a little taste of the kind of dominion we have over the natural world. And I think that this is kind of the most common understanding of having dominion over all the things of, the things that crawl over the earth. But actually, what's really awesome, what I really love about our understanding and our faith, is that dominion is more than just the animals and the plants that we see outside. Dominion is actually over everything that exists in our physical and even spiritual realm. Everything that God created, we are to have dominion over. God created us as lords of creation. So, what other things does this entail? I'm going to go through a couple other aspects that maybe you haven't considered so much, and then in the coming weeks, we're going to go into each one of these more in detail, and I think you're going to find it really interesting. I know that many of you have made goals for your year, whether they are health goals, financial goals, organizational goals. This is going to be perfect for that. So, in the things that God created, we have our plants and animals, right? This natural world that we see. Another thing that we need to have dominion over is our personal environment. This could just have to do with the cleanliness of your house, what kind of music you listen to, what kind of environment do we have around us, and how are we taking care of the environment that we personally take up and we live in. We need to have dominion over our physical body. And the Bible says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm sure that also includes our spirit, but it's also our body. I don't think God did it casually. But I think many times we take it for granted, or some of us are at fault for focusing only on the spiritual aspect and not thinking about this vessel that our spirit is living in and how to take care of that. Another thing, and this might surprise you, is money. Money is part of all things. For one thing, everything that you see in this world can be purchased with money, right? And in that way, it actually represents all things. And so what we do with our money, in many ways, is indicative of what we do with our world around us. So we can examine what is our relationship with money? What do we do with our money? How do we take care of and invest and use it for God's purpose? Another thing, and this is maybe even a little bit more abstract, but time. Time exists only in our realm of time and space, right? I think in spiritual world, time is irrelevant. But we deal with time in our life here on earth. And we can be dominated by time, or we can have dominion over time. And so this is a really awesome topic that I know I'm working on a lot, and I'm excited to go more in depth with. And then last but not least, I feel like with everyone, I'm like going further and further away from what you might expect. Angels in the spiritual world. God also created angels, and he may have created angels before human beings, but he created them as ministering spirits that when Adam and Eve grew up, when humanity achieved maturity, that we would have dominion over the angels. So what does that mean in our daily life? I think we might ask Dr. Hendrick to talk to us about that one. But if we're attuned, we recognize that there are influences in our life that are not just circumstantial, that are not just a result of the house we live in, the school we go to, the job we have, but there's a relationship with a spiritual side of life. And the same, just like time, we can be influenced by it, be dominated by it, or we can have dominion over it and use it to our advantage. So I just think these topics are amazing. You know, what part of our life isn't encompassed in all of that? And I'm just really excited to delve more deeply into those. I think it's incredibly relevant, and I hope you can all come to all of these next coming series. So with that, think about what can we do today? What can we do this week to see this world, see our blessings from God's viewpoint rather than just our own? How can we respect this world with the same kind of love and respect that God has? And I think that you will find that when we do that, we will actually be able to receive greater benefit than when we do it selfishly or just for our own purpose. So with that, I'll finish, and please join me in prayer. Good morning, our most beloved Heavenly Parent. We love you. We're here together today as brothers and sisters, as families, as parents, as children. Ultimately, we're really all your children, and I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity to open up our hearts, leave behind the difficulties of the week, shed our extra layers, and we can really open up our hearts to you, reconnect to you, our Heavenly Parent, and hopefully receive not just words, but receive your love and catch what it is that you are really wanting for us. It might be something different for each and every one of us, but I know that there's something here for each one of us that you are trying to give us. I pray that we can go into this week with new awareness of your incredible love for us and in your incredible love for the creation, and that we can find our own way to contribute, our own way to create a better world for our families, our future generations, and to really return this joy and love to you that you have been longing for. Heavenly Parent, there have been so many people who have misused and abused and disregarded your incredible investment and love into this creation and into us. But we want to be the people who say, it's okay. We're going to make it better. I understand your heart. I understand your love, and I want you to be happy. Thank you for this time. We want to offer this service to you, and I pray this in my name, Michael and Donia Hentrick, of Blessed Show family, adieu.
Give it up. Thank you, Pastor Adonia. So now we'll be doing the tithes. So just taking what Pastor Adonia shared with us, take time to reflect, to meditate, and just think, why are we here today? Why should I give my tithe? And what, not just, what we're giving, but how can my heart be given to this tithe, to this community? So we'll take a few minutes.
Good morning, dear Heavenly Parents, to parents. We thank you so much for this day. Every day, you bless us with love and truth. And we thank you for your power to work with and through our two parents, so we can all unite as brothers and sisters. We take care of the world. Please give us the power and the love that we can do this, and we give what we can from our heart to do this. Thank you for this offering. We offer this to you in the name of our family, Mary Initial, blessed and all family, adieu.
All right. Oh, all right. I've been told to stall for a minute. So, I want to personally encourage you to come to the couples ice skating in Evergreen on February 17th. I went up there recently with my kids, and it's just beautiful. It's a huge, natural lake, and they use a Zamboni to clear off a large portion of the ice, and you've got the mountains in the background, and there's a beautiful wooden lodge where you can get hot chocolate and cider and sit around a fireplace, and it's very beautiful. So if you need a little bit like a mini vacation, leave the kids at home, bring your spouse, and even if you're not a great skater, you can go out on the ice without skates, or you can just sit around the fire. But that's my personal plug for that. All right. All right, everybody please rise. We're going to sing This Is My Father's World.
This is my Father's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my Father's world, I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas, His hands the wonders wrought. This is my Father's world. The birds their carols raise, the morning light, the lily white, declare their Maker's praise. This is my Father's world, He shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I hear Him pass, He speaks so strong, God is a ruler yet. This is my Father's world, the battle is not done. Jesus who died shall be satisfied, and earth and heaven be won.
This is my Father's world.
This is my Father's world, the battle is not done. Jesus who died shall be satisfied, and earth and heaven be won.
And now we'll go into our weekly national update.
Hi everyone, I'm Kazuyo. I'm Yuri. We came from Colorado for Japanese 7-day workshop at IPEC. Here is weekly update, international news. Here we go!
On January 17th, True Mother was welcomed by President Macky Sall at his presidential palace. Before the summit, the two discussed their visions for the peace, hope, and future of Africa. She then addressed the gathering there.
나는 아프리카를 사랑합니다. 아프리카 대륙이 하늘 부모님을 모시는 신 아프리카 대륙이 되기를 축원했습니다. 그리고 메키사르 대통령의 열린 마음을 보았습니다. 그래서 내가 할 수 있는 한 아프리카를 더 많이 사랑하려고 합니다.
The next day, True Mother spoke before hundreds of leaders from all across Africa at the opening plenary of the World Africa Summit in Dakar, Senegal.
참 부모요, 참 어머니의 마음으로 이 아프리카의 아픈 과거를 청산하고 오늘날 인간의 무지로 황폐해진 이 지구는 미래 인류의 희망이 될 수 없습니다. 그래서 나는 아프리카를 본연의 하나님께서 창조하셨던 그 건강한 아프리카로 만들어 가고 싶습니다. 우리 다 함께, 나와 함께 손에 손을 잡고 모든 나라들이 하나님 앞에 한 형제 자매로서 인류 한 가족의 꿈을 실현하는 그날을 향해 총진군하기를 부탁하며 축원합니다.
Today, I just came back from Korea, meeting with True Mother and travel with True Mother to Africa and coming back to Korea and had a wonderful Chukseung-hue. And on the way back to East Coast, I stopped by here Las Vegas IPEC because these our wonderful brothers and sisters from our Japanese community, thank you and appreciate you participated in 7 days workshop.
Hi, brothers and sisters. Marjorie and I are here at the IPEC Conference Center in Las Vegas. We've joined in the 7-day Japanese workshop here with over 120 other people from Japan and 25 representatives from America.
Reverend Nakamura and Kachi flew all the way over from Japan to teach us special content that we don't usually get here in America.
The contents that I receive is very, very profound and deep. A realization I go through the inspiration and gratitude.
What really touched me most was Mr. Nakamura's lecture about Jesus and the Christology, because I felt he really had experience with Jesus. He had a really conversion with Jesus.
This afternoon, Mr. Nakamura shared with those brothers and sisters that want to become lecturers.
We got the chance to talk about education and about what it takes to give revival and rebirth and really new life to people here in America through the principle, and really feeling, as Mother said, the spirit and the truth coming back into our movement.
All of the participants went to Red Rock and then visited True Parents' home and prayed there and got a tour.
We went to Hoover Dam. I was very impressed by the ingenuity of the American spirit.
We also have a lot of time for question and answers. And we've been singing songs together with our Japanese brothers and sisters. So we're having quite an experience here together.
My dear brothers and sisters, let us make this year 2018 great year for the sake of God, True Parents, America, and all of us. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
On January 21st, Reverend John Jackson was officially inaugurated as the Southwest Sub-Regional Director at the Chung Hua Gung Church in Las Vegas. In his inaugural message, Reverend Jackson conveyed that his role as Sub-Regional Director is to help build a more intimate relationship between True Parents and local unificationists. Congratulations to Reverend Jackson.
On January 15th, Martin Luther King Day, the Bay Area Family Church volunteered at the Oakland, California Rose Garden and the local animal shelter. There, they picked up trash, repainted old walls and gates, and even did some weeding and gardening. It was a successful weekend with many hardworking people coming together to volunteer on this day of service in commemoration of such a great civil rights leader.
Hello, brothers and sisters. February is coming soon, and I'm excited to announce that to coincide with True Parents' birthday, there will be a pilgrimage to Korea. We'll be attending True Parents' birthday celebration at the magnificent Chungshim Peace World Center on February 21st. See Hyojeong cultural performances, including a musical of truly epic proportions, the powerful live music, and of course see our beautiful True Mother in person. There will be a tour of the Hyojeong Chunwon complex, including the Sunhak Institute of History, as well as a visit to the old Chungpadong Church and other sightseeing in Seoul. The package will also include 3 days of unificationist culture at the Chungpyeong Great Works Workshop. The registration fee is just $350, which covers all food, transportation, and hotel accommodations during your stay, as well as the workshop fee. The pilgrimage will be from February 19th to the 25th, and you can go to familyfed.org to find out more about this great opportunity to experience True Parents' homeland and to be there in person to wish True Mother a happy birthday.
Have you gotten your new Holy Scripture mini book set? This set is travel size, so you can easily bring True Parents' Word with you wherever you go, and it's significantly cheaper. Check it out at hsabooks.com. The size is smaller, but the heart is the same.
That's all for now. Thank you for watching. See you next week.
Don't they make great announcements? It's so awesome. All right, at this time, we like to let the Sunday school go. All right, so now we'll have our weekly announcements for local. So the first one will be a short video that Gloria made, a recap of January. So there'll be pictures, and we'll have...
Sometimes I think, what will people say of me when I'm only just a memory? When I'm home where my soul belongs. Was I loved when no one else would show up? Was I Jesus to the least of us? Was my worship more than just a song? I wanna live like that and give it all I have, so that everything I say and do points to you. If love is who I am, then this is where I stand, recklessly
Give a round of applause. Okay, so this next Sunday will be Super Bowl 52. You guys excited? All right. So we'll have our Super Bowl party, which will be hosted by the Young Adult Ministry again this year. It'll kick off at 4:30, and pregame show will be on throughout the afternoon. So this is new. There's next Sunday, Nadia Rendon from the Corky Gonzalez Library right down the street. You guys all passed it. We offer different free services and programs the library offers. She will have a resource table in the dining room after church next Sunday. For those of you that are couples out there, there's a very romantic ice skating trip in the scenic mountains of Evergreen, just about 40 minutes from downtown Denver. You can leave the kids at home, share a special time with your spouse. If it gets cold, you can get drinks, snuggle up. Admission is $7, and then skates. If you don't have skates already, skates are $7. As always, there's always a 7-day Divine Principle workshop. If you're interested, please see the pastors. Next week, the Martinez family will be cooking and cleaning, so please make sure to give a big thank you to them. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. Have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll see you next week.